Welcome to Starfield Wiki. I am Lucian Darkscythe, and today we shall look at the best perks to specialize in combat. With these perks you will boost your combat skills that will aid you in your journey across Starfield, even on the hardest difficulty. The first and most useful perk I would recommend is the Weapon Engineering perk under the Science Perks tab. This perk will allow you to upgrade any ranged weapon that you find. In your journey you will come across hundreds of weapons that you loot off enemies, steal, simply find or purchase. To make the most out of the weapons that you find, do get this perk. Use a research station to unlock the particular leveled mods, and use the workbench to craft very powerful upgrades for your weapons. Advance a few main quests to unlock the lodge fairly early in the game, which will grant you access to these stations. As can be demonstrated, the weapon upgrades are very high powered indeed. With the help of this perk and few other stealth perks, I was able to clear level 75 star systems when I was level 30 on the hardest difficulty, and you will be too, primarily with the help of the weapon upgrades. Melee bladed weapons are decent, but are definitely not as overpowered as it was in the previous Bethesda titles, where for example you could enter VATS in Fallout and blitz through enemies by automatically selecting multiple enemies at once and remain undetected. The next perk I would recommend is the Ballistics perk under the Combat tab. Why? Because most of the weapons that you find, especially near the beginning of the game, classify as ballistic weapons, and this perk will help you deal more damage with those weapon types. As you start the game, you will be low on ammunitions, and thus it makes sense that you will most likely be using any weapons that you can find, that you have the ammunitions for. What logically follows from that speculation is that, when starting the game, do not upgrade dueling, pistol, shotgun, rifle, and heavy weaponry certifications, unless of course you have decided to stick to just one weapon type for your playthrough, which most likely won't be the case, especially on your first playthrough, as you're still experimenting different weapon classes near the beginning of the game. Once you pick your favorite weapon type and style, and as you have enough ammunition for it, upgrade the appropriate weapon certification perk. The Rapid Reloading perk is another useful perk to help you reload your weapons faster in the heat of the moment. All the master perks in the Combat tab are very practical, from being able to ignore a fraction of the enemy's armor, to increasing the chance of crippling them, to dealing more critical damage. They can all assist you greatly in your endeavors. For a combat-focused playthrough, I would recommend the social perks after the other perks in this video. There are certain useful perks such as scavenging level 2 and level 3 to help you find more ammo and aid items, and perks such as instigation and intimidation to brainwash certain enemy NPCs to turn the tides of the battle in your favor. The Spacesuit Design perk under the Science tab can be helpful for upgrading your armor, but it's not as useful as upgrading your weapons with the aforementioned Weapon Engineering perk. This is because the game lets you become significantly much more offensive than you can be defensive. Thus there is only so much damage you can resist from enemies with limited armor upgrades. However, under the same Science tab, another essential perk is the Medicine perk. Should you choose not to become a sneak sniper from a kilometer or a mile away, and your combat style and weapon requires that you are up close and personal, you will most certainly be taking a lot of damage, where this perk will allow you to carve your way through your enemies as you heal any damage you gain as fast as possible. To help you with the spaceship combat, you very simply need perks that increase the damage your ship's weapons do. Under the Tech perk tab, it is highly recommended to use the particle beam weapon systems, as they're very powerful with good fire rate and minimum reload time. As can be seen here, they can pierce through your enemy's defenses fairly easily. Starship Design perk will unlock the stronger weapon modules. They can get expensive, and thus you could steal or find and pilot higher class ships, which may come with the upgraded weaponries built in. Do keep in mind, you will need the piloting perk to be able to fly higher classed ships. To make your battles easier, especially when you're outnumbered, the Shield Systems perk will certainly come in handy. With the aforementioned Starship Design perk, you can also purchase higher tiered shields to boost your defensive capabilities. Moving back to combat inland, to deal the most damage and take the least, long-distance stealth, scoped and suppressed sniper attacks are the way to go. Stealth damage is just as broken as the previous Bethesda titles. Stay at a distance, use the weapon engineering perk to add the scopes to your weapons, and snipe your way through your enemies. As can be seen, enemies just do not stand a chance, even on the hardest difficulty on high-level star systems. The master level perks do require a lot of investment into the appropriate perk tabs, but the Concealment perk is most definitely worth it, and very much required to deal the most damage. Rejuvenation is another vital perk, where on the higher ranks it can heal you mid-battle. As mentioned earlier, stealth melee is not as overpowered as it was in the previous Bethesda games, but nonetheless, it could still cater to your playstyle as you test it out. You could spend perks on melee upgrades so that you can unlock the higher tiered perks such as the aforementioned Concealment perk. All the perks that I have mentioned are solely combat focused perks. The recommended perks when you start the game will differ for explorers and other achievers with different playstyles. Starfield is indeed a massive game and calls out to gamers of all backgrounds. If you found these tips helpful, and for more content, like and subscribe to Starfield Wiki.